Every resident in the northern mining country who has come in contact with the Cornish people is familiar with the Christmas carol, but few of them know much of the origin of these popular songs. A writer in the Mining Gazette last week covered the ground very fully in the following. Carols were introduced by the clarinated in the usage of the primitive church, for in the early ages the bishops were accustomed to sing carols on Christmas Day with their clergy. The term carol is supposed to be derived either from the Italian carolee, a song of devotion, or carol properly, a round dance, from the French maror, caror, Breton caroli, a dance, or the Welsh carol, to reel, to dance. Carols were introduced by the clergy into England from Italy soon after the Norman conquest as a substitution for the Yule. And immediately when you see Yule, you think of the Celtic wheel of the year, a wassail song of heathen origin, which until then had been in use among the vulgar. The custom of singing carolly is still maintained in Italy, indeed on the continent. Caroling at Christmas is almost universal, and particularly in Rome. The custom of carol singing in England formerly prevailed over the larger part of the British Isles, and there are still in use in many parts among the peasantry. Carols of undoubted antiquity, illustrative of the manners of sentiments of the Middle Ages. During the celebration of Ye Olde Christmas in England, carols were divided into two classes. The more serious of them, of a religious character, were sung morning and evening, and those which were convivial in their nature were sung at those bountiful and stately banquets with our English ancestors. So this is English, became the especial glory of the Christmas holidays, and they don't even call it a holy day because they know. That's why they had to change it to a holiday, Hollywood, of the Middle Ages. The Old English Yule songs were sung by the people about the church yards after service on Christmas Day. An example given is identical with that in the Christmas of Washington Irving's book, Yule, 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 3 puddings in a pail, crack nuts and cry Yule. These Yule songs were usually sung at the bringing in of the Christmas block or Yule log, which was anciently introduced into the Old English baronial hall with pomp and circumstances, the minstrels saluting its appearance with these songs. It's all dogma, but they're still recording the different changes of the seasons and all, like I said, with the Celtic wheel of the year. In reference to the celebrated boar's head carol, the sun is at its lowest point and it stands still for 3 days. Then it begins to rise and resurrect and go back to the highest point. In reference to the celebrated boar's head carol, it is said the carols of this nature became so popular in the 15th century that Wynkyn de Worde, one of the earliest printers, published a collection of them in 1521. These jolly carols, as old Trusser calls them, were sung by the company or by itinerant minstrels who attended the feast for this special purpose. The origin of the old-time ceremony of bringing in the boar's head with singing to the high table in the hall of the Queen's College, Oxford, England, on Christmas Day is of doubtful origin, but it is reasonable to suppose that the custom has obtained since the foundation of the college in 1340. And we know that all colleges, before they became so-called colleges, they was known as mystery institutions. The boar's head and hand bear I bedecked with bays and rosemary, and I pray you, my masters, be merry. The boar's head, as I understand, is the bravest dish in all the land. When thus bedecked with gay garland, our steward hath provided this, in honor of the King of Bliss, which on this day to be served. It is said that the Reformation affected the Christmas carol little, if any, in England. After that period, records show that carols were still sung in every home on Christmas Eve, and that on Christmas Day these carols took the place of psalms in all the churches. And the psalms, even in Islam, the Zabur, it's recognized and known as a holy book which was revealed by God. And they threw it out to sing some dogma. And all of you are following this dogma? You saying you Cornish following all this dogma? In Wales to this day it is said, after the turn of midnight on Christmas Eve, divine service is celebrated, followed by the singing of carols to the harp, and they are also sung in the homes with similar accompaniment throughout the Christmas holidays. It must be understood that from the folk song period to the time of actual musical composition, that wandering tromboners, minstrels, and waits kept alive musical traditions, and to certain individuals also of this class of entertainers. We are indebted for much of the primitive music which was finally set down and preserved by savants of the 15th and 16th century. We know all of the music and scales and all that was brought in by the Moors, and even in the English Helios Biblios or Bible that our foremothers and forefathers denied, it says, Jeremiah 10:3, for the practices of the people are worthless. For the practices of the people are worthless. They cut a tree out of the forest, and a craftsman shapes it with chisel. Their ways are futile and foolish. For the customs of the people are vanity. For the customs of the people are worthless. For the customs of the people are vain. For the customs of the people are futile. For the customs of the people are delusion. They adorn it with silver and gold. They fasten it with hammer and nails so it will not totter. Also, that tree's the only one that stays its same color all through the year, so that's why they chose that tree too. But all of this is dogma, but you need to get into the esoteric meanings of what they're telling you all around the year when you're celebrating these holy days. Actually, they're shifting events within the seasons and within our health and within unity with the nature's law. Universe law. You had someone standing there that knew nothing about astrology, but they see me on my knees and I look up at the moon and then I put my seed in the ground. But they sit there and think that I'm worshiping the sun. No, I'm studying and I'm recording the movements so I know when to plant my seed, when to harvest. Most cultures had winter solstice celebrations to mark the return of the warming rays of the sun. A great Roman festival known as the Saturnalia was held each year during the third week of December. Gifts were exchanged. Sound familiar? And homes, streets, and buildings were decorated. People came home for holidays and everyone was in a happy partying mood. In fact, it may very well be that our ways of celebrating the Christmas season can be traced back to Saturnalia, whose origin came from the observance of the sun beginning in northward climb. But they were studying it and measuring it by shadow and all. What Jesus tell the brother next to him on the cross? With me on this day, I will be with you in heaven. But then you say that he went down to hell for 3 days. So how can he be in heaven and hell at the same time? But again, they're speaking of the sun being at its lowest degree. And then it starts raising after those 3 days. And that is a natural universal fact. So you have to let go of the dogma. You have to give away your childish ways. Also, you have baby Jesus in a manger, but he was born when there was dates on the trees. Now you're saying he was born in the middle of winter. And you know what? That weather out there is pretty much the same as over here. So you can't say, well, over there it was summer during winter here. No, it's exactly the same pretty much. And it said that there was dates on the trees. Also, the Jews celebrate a Pentecost every 50 years, and at this same time is when the Christians took that on. But all of that is Greek, just like your Bible. It comes from translations of Greek, but now we also found that it came from the prayer book that was translated from English into Latin and then back into English and then forced upon people. Because remember, if you didn't go to church on Sunday, they'd shoot a gun through you.